Okay, and we're back here. So the last couple episodes we went ahead and worked on a client commission here to kind of just get that out of the way so we can get back to working on other things. This one we're going to work on ICBM. So the plan right now this week is to get the JSON system done for ICBM, update 5 mods, SMB mods to 112, and generally just try not to fail at life. Yeah, pretty tall order on all three of those. So I'm going to go ahead and launch up the game here while we talk about what we're going to do. So the main thing that doesn't need to be fixed with the JSON system is I got to finish the new launchers. Get those set up, get those tested, make sure they work. We do need to go through and test some recipes. I have had some reports that some of the recipes are not functioning correctly. We need to go through that. At some point in time, I need to add NEI support. It's a really big thing that needs to be done here in the future. That was part of the problem. Is I don't think the recipes are actually broken. I just think because my recipes don't work with NEI properly, that's what people are thinking. They're installing NEI and going, oh, well, we don't see recipes, therefore there must not be a recipe for it. The reality of it is NEI is not a foolproof system. It never has been. It has a tendency that when people use customized recipe code, it will just not show the recipes. What the expectation is that you must install the NEI API and then set up recipes yourself with it, which is not something that's actually easy to do. NEI API was not the most cleanestly implemented, and it's garbage in my point is to put it. But that's my opinion though on that, because a lot of people do find the API functional and it does work, and people have been managed to get it to run. So all we have to do is go through and implement it. We may take a swing at that later this week. If we don't get to it this week, we'll get to it eventually. After all, I've got this entire month to finish off ICBM, and then we're going to, at the end of the month, start the update to 1.8 if we're ready or not. We're just going to start it. So we do have functional setup here. This is what we were kind of working on last time we had loaded up. And we were trying to figure out if this stuff actually did what it's supposed to do. And we got our head stuck inside of the launcher frame. Let's grab another one. Stand a little further back when we do this. Might want to rewrite some code to kind of push the player out of multi-blocks. Yeah, so it does look like it's working for this, but the problem is it's also working for the wrong tiles. So we're getting multi-block layouts on pretty much everything. That's the big problem. So we got this huge multi-block for the standard here. So let me go ahead and break the standard and replace it back down to see if it replicates itself. Yeah, so it is re-replicating. It is confirming that we are running a standard launcher here. And the one we did earlier did say medium launcher, so they are reporting as the correct size. But now we're running into an issue where something in the multi-block code is not running as it should. I think we did notice this last time we were working on ICBM, and I said I was just going to get to it later, and I never got to it because, well, I spent, I think, the entire last week updating mods to 112 again. And we're going to continue that part of this week as well. So we're going to try to hit one SMB mod a day. And I don't know if I'm going to record that when I do it. If I'm not going to record it, as I have other things to do. I do have homework to be working on. I have several reports to do, several labs, stuff like that. I got to do some research papers. I do have a game I have to be working on too, so I am doing indie game development. I never did quite stop on that. I just stopped recording myself working on that kind of stuff. My buddy Grogger wants to get back into it, and I agree with him. We really do need to prioritize working on that game rather than working on the mods. And of course, we start a new Let's Play series, and there's a lot of other things to be done during this week. Etc., etc. Plus, I got several job interviews. As much as I hate it, you guys haven't been doing enough on Patreon that I actually have to go look for a job. Let me actually pop this over here. I can show you what we're doing on Patreon right now, and I can tell you that it's not anywhere close to what it needs to be. So if I go overview, so we're getting about 100. I am happy you guys have been donating as much as you have. I believe one guy is actually doing this right now. There's one person that's actually getting the $100, which, by the way, if he ever wants to, I will do the custom edition for him. He just has to ask for it. But we haven't hit any of my goals. So there's actually several goals on here. The plan is to do 3,000 a month. This, if I can ever hit 3,000 a month, that is enough to make it worthwhile to continue doing modding for the future. This is pretty much a job. That's roughly what I need to kind of live off of mostly. To be honest, if I can get 500 a month, that really could help pay for bills and stuff. 1,000, I can stay where I'm currently at and not have to go look for another place to live. And then anything above that's really cool. is 1,500 is a part-time job, and 3,000 is a full-time job. Although I would love to see this hit 5,000, but it doesn't have to be through Patreon with that much money. If I hit, like, because we're making money off of curse mods, we're making money off ad flag revenue. At some point, we do plan to put the wiki up, and we know the wiki is going to generate some amount of money off of ads as well. Although we're not going to be abusive about the ads, and we'll keep them pretty low. And if you guys donate to Patreon, we'll remove them off the thing as well. So we'll make sure there's always that stretch goal and everything else to get things. But that's enough of that, because I don't really like talking about that. I'm almost with Azzy on this one, even though I'm not as bad as Azzy, because if you've seen Azzy on Twitter and stuff, he really doesn't like the idea of monetizing out mods. I don't like it more than he does, but I also understand that, well, I am pretty much broke. I am not making almost any money off of anything I'm doing, and unfortunately, it cost me a couple $100, and at this point I'm down to $200 in my checking account. Once it hits zero, I'm pretty much screwed. I have to start selling things, like my computer, for example. I hate to have to do that, but I might actually have to pawn it just to pay the bills. Luckily, if I ever do that, I do have backup computers, so I won't be completely boned. It's just you guys may not see as many recordings from me or anything else if that hits that problem. So let's look at the code here. So we do have multi-block handlers, and we need to figure out what is going on and what's wrong with our multi-block handlers. Easy way, actually, first step, let's just look at the JSON files. So we got the medium launcher, standard launcher, small launcher, and micro launcher. These all are set up correct. They got their correct heights. They all look good. So there's nothing wrong with the JSON code. Let's look at these guys. Is there something wrong with maybe the listeners? I don't think so. Maybe the content ID. Yeah, you know what it probably is? It's probably the content IDs that are being used. That actually may be what's up. I think it's what we confirmed last time, and I never did get around to fixing it. So that means what I want to do is I want to look at maybe no, not the framework. Prefabs, I believe tile, and then listeners. No, it's not down here. It might be sitting in the multi-block, which is in the framework, I believe. Yeah, right here it is. So what I think might be going on is it's the content ID isn't working. So we're going to make a new world for this because it'll be the easiest way to test it because there's way too many launchers in that one for me to test them properly. And that means if I really want to test it, I'll have to delete a whole bunch of stuff. That way I only have one thing triggering the code. So go ahead and make a new world. I probably should name these worlds too, it would really help. And then we'll get to work on that. But yeah, hopes is to get this all done because I really would love to get you guys an updated version of ICBM to at least 1.8 by August, and then to 1.12 by September. So once we get this new launcher stuff done, I'm pretty much going to close doors on new content for a while, and we're just going to focus on polishing until we get most of everything rectified, and then we'll abstract and we'll get to working on everything else. So let's, you know, the easiest way would be to build the smallest launcher possible and test its code first. And then we'll move from one size to the next. So this is a micro. If it wants to do the top thing. Come on, there it goes. Really slow on that. I probably should work on the code. So we got a micro guy, and theoretically I could actually put a missile in here, but it will not render as though we haven't done that yet. So you could click this and it goes missile added, but yeah, you're not getting anything out of that. I think occasionally it will actually try to render. But look, we get the multi-block structure, so we are having problems here. So let's go ahead and put a thing here. And actually put a thing there. And we're not getting anything here. So let's go ahead and break that, and that'll trigger the system. So tile entity, iMod object. Okay, so yeah, we should have separated this out. String ID equals this. ID equals. It's probably like, you know what might actually be killing us here? It just might be a lowercase problem, where just the case is not sensitive. Or the case rather is sensitive, and I didn't make it insensitive. So ID we're getting, so the actual ID we are getting from this guy is correct. It is the micro. And of course we are actually looking at the small launcher. By the way, all the listeners are applied, and here's the micro, so we want to turn true. Yep, there we go, return true. So it is case correctly. You know what, we're going to do ignore case on this, just to make this work a little better. And we'll go ahead and modify this guy as well. So string ID equals this, and we'll do ID equals ignore case. So we'll make a case insensitive, so that way when you guys are doing like, so if you're a mod pack developer and you want to change the behavior of this, it's a lot easier because then you don't have to worry about how you're spelling it. So it is doing valid correct on this. So we'll leave that there because I want to see what happens when I build the tile. Ah, so here is a problem. So we're identifying as a standard launcher. And then it's coming back down, it's going, okay, my ID is a standard launcher still. Could it be that these tiles are client-side? Yeah, it's, for some reason it's thinking it's a... So if we go grab tile, and we grab our node, missile size got set to standard. So something failed. Because this is definitely a micro. Now this could be a client-side problem. Let me put a break line here again. And let me go ahead and right-click this guy. Actually, we'll go ahead and break it. Okay, so now it thinks it's a micro. All of a sudden, as soon as I break it, it thinks it's a micro. So that didn't work. Still thinks it's a micro. That gets called quite a few times when you think about it. Error map was empty. Still thinks it's a micro. That gets called way too many times. Oh, then again, it gets called per block. Ooh, what is going on? We're getting a nice, hefty lag spike there. What in the world is causing that? Man, we're getting screwed over by lighting updates. Example where I talk about how Minecraft's code can be shitty at times. So we just got spammed by a lighting update. There it goes, it finally cleared out. So what had happened is because I just deleted like 120 blocks in one go, it just lighting update spam. What I'll probably do is change how multi-blocks are deleted, and that might fix that. Because look at that, that's almost taking a second per lighting update. That's only one chunk, by the way. It's like, oh god, that's ugly. That's an example where Minecraft should really only update lighting once a tick, and not like every single time a block is changed. Okay, so close that. So the unique ID system for the standard launcher is not functioning properly. It is functioning, of course, because it is returning a value, but it's not functioning properly, and we need to look at ways to fix that. So if we come up to here and we go to content and we go launcher, there should be, right here's the standard launcher, and it gets its unique cache ID right here. So it gets its missile size practically. So the missile size isn't being set. And what we can do is actually, in the frame check, update its size. Maybe? No. Because the frame check actually should have destroyed it if it was the wrong size. This is where I'm curious if this is trying to run client-side, because it should not run client-side. But of course, I'm sitting here looking at it, and of course it is actually running client-side. If world.isRemote, or actually, I should have a isServer check, actually. isServer, there we go. So we are running code client-side when we shouldn't be, and this could actually be causing all kinds of problems. There's actually a huge list of things that could go wrong with this being running on the wrong side. get that going. Okay, so we'll go ahead and blow him up again. Place him down. Oh, I rotated by mistake. That works. So I'm not getting any break marks again, so let's go ahead and put this here. It still thinks we're a standard. And it thinks that we're a client, too. What? Where's my two-string method on this? Abstract launcher, tile missile container, tile missile node, tile power node, tile node. At the very bottom, it should be a two-string method. There's wrapper calls, packet handlers, owner methods. Should be a two-string method here. Okay, so there's our two-string data. Okay, so that's not where this is coming from. This is actually coming from the wrapper, which means we need to go to the frame to see what that two-string is doing. I'm really just trying to confirm if it's what that client actually means on the. Pretty sure I know what it means, but we need to make sure that we actually are getting the correct information. Okay, so okay, here two-string. So yeah, so we do have a is remote check, which does tell us this client, and for some reason, when we look at our debugger, that's a client. Actually, you know, this might be misleading because I think we're always a client. One way we can do this, by the way, is go oh yeah, there's an is server check even in here. That's cool. Then just go return false. This should never run client side ever. Okay, put that there, and then we just need to hit the play button. Okay, we're getting the correct tile now. Only because we broke it, of course. Because every time, for some reason, we break it, the code works correctly, and when we're trying to build it, it doesn't work correctly. Okay, put this here. It rendered. Hey, it's using the correct ID now. So yeah, that's just an example of the client does not have access to that information, but the client was trying to run everything. That's an easy fix though. And it's running them on multi-block still. What? 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 I almost thought we had it working, and then boom, it's not working anymore. So this is valid for tile, should be running. Like, hands down, should always be running. What we're going to have to figure out is what is calling all these methods, where they're being called from, and I don't want to wrap every single method in here inside of a is valid for a check, but I have a really strong feeling I really should. But we get the layout, and we're getting the layout of the wrong tile basically. Layout key. Let's put a break line here. Okay, micro launcher is created, and then as soon as I stick that in there, which of the many things got called? So we got called micro launcher, hit play. Small launcher just got called. Small launcher should not have been called. So let's go work our way up the call tree. Is valid for tile got called right here. And it didn't work. So our is valid check is still failing. Okay, so if we figure out what this is, we're on a server. Even though this can run client side too, even though I should probably prevent it from running client side. That's actually what I might do, is I might redo the wrappers and make sure that they're actually running on the correct side. So we come back through here. Okay. So what this does is this runs a loop of every single launcher registered. So if we actually open up the list, it'll show you the list of them all. So there's the micro, which should have ran first, small, so on and so on. And then it tries to figure out which one is going to return the correct data. So go ahead and do this, and we'll figure out which one is actually returning. So it's returning the big one for whatever reason. So it is running an is valid check on the medium, even though is valid should never validate for the medium. And I don't really understand why. Because if we go to this guy, and we grab the tile, we clearly see micro is there. So that means that is valid check should have failed flat out for the medium. But it didn't. So what gives? This doesn't make any sense. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite the layout here template. When you work with, by the way, these templates, you cannot actually edit this class, for example. So this is an actual generated template class. If you actually see up here, it'll say this is generated file. So you never want to edit these, and I need to find a way to actually lock them to prevent them from the editing, because I've stupidly edited these myself. So we want to get rid of that. We just want to come down through here and we go, okay, if you're on the client, none of this code will run. Just flat out, I don't care, will not run. And eventually what we'll do is we'll come through and we'll go, okay, if you're on a client side, then you won't identify properly. It'll go server side has a multi-block support, client side has no multi-block support. And that probably will break mod compatibility, but I honestly don't care. Anyways, to be honest, actually with the capability system in the newer versions of Minecraft, I'm going to get rid of the interfaces off here anyways, and probably work over my template even further. The only reason we're currently doing it is because it works. It works really well. It actually is a really nice system. And this is down CodeGen, templates, tile multi-block template. And we want to go, okay, if is server. Is there not an is server system? I guess I could make one. Wouldn't take me too long. Public boolean is server. Return world doesn't equal null. And the reason you do a null check on this is sometimes it actually will turn null on you randomly. And it's not really random, it happens. Like something does something and it breaks. Anyway, server is if it's not remote, and then client is if it is. And what we're going to do is we're just going to wrapper everything, and that isn't going to fix this problem, by the way. But what that is going to do is improve functionality a little bit. So we guarantee that at least we're not running this junk client side. Actually, I think we want this to run client side. I'm just going to remove it all and we'll figure out if it breaks later. We'll run some heavy tests on it. But you actually do want, like some of the stuff like interaction handlers I need to run client side. Tile invalidate shouldn't. Tile broken shouldn't. On multi-block added should, because you can't do interaction handling if you don't know what your host is. Tile activated, tile click should run client side. Multi-block layout should not, at least for the moment. We can come back and change this later. What we'll do is if we change this later, this will be more than likely used for displaying multi-blocks in world before you place them, because then you would be able to see the layout. That'd be something that'd be really useful. It would help people out a lot. But we want certain things to not run client side. Actually, no, we need the layout client side. That's gonna suck, because that's the part I actually don't want to run client side, because that's what actually tells it to build. But we don't want the invalidate code to run client side, and we don't want the break code to run client side. These are two things that you never should do client side anyways. But you want to know what your tile is, so we want to do an added thing, and we want to make sure the clicks pass through. Because if you don't return true client side that you click something, it will not pass to the server. It's just how the code functions. But that'll run, so when we run next time it'll rebuild. Then we got to figure out why is it breaking the way it's breaking. I hate to do this, but we may just have to go through here and run is valid on every single one of these methods, which is just stupid. I shouldn't have to do that, because it should already do that for me. Let's put a line here. And we'll figure out where that's being called from. What might be happening is we may be getting some weird feedback from a different method set. So I fixed it in the layout, but it hasn't fixed elsewhere. I need to check the edit configurations here. Is it running? Yes, it's running the code generator. So how this works, by the way, with the code generator is that every time we launch the game, it reruns itself and regenerates the code every single time. And it uses those templates to guarantee that the code always matches what it's supposed to. And the whole purpose behind this, for those who haven't watched the other episodes, is that if I want to put a whole bunch of support on a tile, so like a whole bunch of functionality, the code generator will do that for me. So I don't have to rewrite code, I don't have to go out of my way to do things. And this is technically obsolete system. As soon as we hit like 1.9, for example, on the update, I believe the capability system was implemented, and then the capability system completely replaces the system. So you no longer need to apply interfaces to your tiles. So if I want to have a fluid handler, all I have to do is implement the capability system for the fluid handler. So you go has capability and you return true for fluid, and then when you call get capability, you return the fluid handler capability. This is a system I used to use in some of the older mods that me and Cal Clavia worked on. It's a pretty useful system. The reason I didn't stick to it is that I was assuming that we would continue using interfaces, because interfaces are pretty useful. All you have to do is call tile is instance of iFluidHandler, and then you do all your method sets. The capability system is basically the same thing, except you've gone more object-oriented than where the interfaces are not as object-oriented. They're an encapsulation method. But yeah, so I got to transition to that eventually. But the wrapper system is just more or less a band-aid. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're calling update from the standard launcher, which then calls build a multi-block helper, which then calls tile.getLayout. And what is tile? Tile is the host. We call good host on that one, so that works. We then get to run down why didn't that line trigger? Oh, probably because this code doesn't match up anymore. So it's come down through here, and then it's triggered on the multi-block listener. The multi-block listener is indeed a micro, because the content I use match. So we do got our right guy. However, the small triggers, the standard triggered, and then the medium triggered. So all four of these decided they wanted to say they were valid. So let's follow the chain back up. Get layout for multi-block. Actually, did we just load the wrong world maybe? No, I'm pretty sure I loaded the right world. So we call this, so we call listener.isValid for tile. I'm just gonna hit play. Let me check what world I'm loaded in. I mean, we're in the right world. We got a micro here, but it keeps thinking it's not a micro. I feel like I'm going to have to go out of my way to do a more complicated system just to solve for this when this should work. Although what it keeps saying is the bytecode doesn't match. Could that be the problem, is that we're looking at a class file that didn't compile? It did just reload 13 classes. There could be a problem with the system. Build multi-block. We're right here, so... Oh, wait. Hold on. Build multi-block, we got the tile. Oh, we got a multi-block tile, which then returns this. Oh! Oh! Here's our problem, right here. So after 10 seconds, this code gets called, and I think we noticed that we weren't getting the multi-block structure right away. This is probably it. Because if we return this, no, that should have returned the multi-block host. So gets tile host. Hold on, where are we at? So we're in here. So I'm gonna put a break line here. What's the tile? Tile wrapper standard. So it is the right tile. Every time it passes through, it's the right tile. Why is that getting? Oh, it's getting called for every single multi-block. So we got our big tile system here. Go ahead and break that and then place it back down. Now we don't want to put our listener in here because that's a bad idea. Because we want to make sure the multi-block helper is independent of the listener system. But we're not getting our proper system here. So here's our frame check. So that's not it, because the frame check's working perfectly fine or the tile would have destroyed itself. Like, that's not even related to our problem. I don't even know why I'm looking at it. So we go here and go ahead and do that. And place that. So we get our true system here. This is our micro. And our small is getting launched. So our isValid check is not working. So where is our isValid check again? There's our listener. Doesn't make any sense why the isValid check would fail. Because if we're on the client, it's false. If our content ID exists, which we should have a content ID, if not, it backs up the metadata. Oh shit! Why is it backing up the metadata? You have a content use ID. How the world did you get to... Oh. That's our problem right there. That's legitimately it. This is why programming takes forever, because you miss really basic things, and this is why JUnit testing is so goddamn important. All the failure for one line of code. Those multi-blocks won't even break themselves either. So we just like completely borked it. If I actually reload real quick, they'll disappear. There is code built in to prevent orphan multi-blocks from existing. Yeah, see, they're all gone. That was the problem. I feel really stupid. This is an example where I always hate myself because I'll spend like 4 days trying to fix something, and then it turns out there was nothing wrong. We don't have a multi-block structure. So now we got it to work, but now we're not getting anything. Do we even have a multi-block? Yeah, no, we should have a multi-block set up for it. So there we go. I triggered the multi-block. Oh yeah, we haven't set up the rotation system. And, oh no, we do have a rotation system because we go down here and we go and it goes okay. Map is null. Okay, it's not storing the layout key. So layout key is micro west. Okay, we do have some stored. No, it's not. What? Why? Why not return the map? Map.get layout key. We got a directional map. Okay, key is null. We got the map. So we're just flat out not even getting the base key either. Let's go here and our layout's right there is 2 lowercase. When you register, it's 2 lowercase. So let's hit that again. So we go to west. Our layout key is micro west. Our map is null. We are directionally offset. We call to get the original one, which is micro launcher. It is also null. So let's go ahead and look at our JSON data because that's where that problem is at. Why do I have... I had 2 Minecrafts there for a second. So yeah, we would come up to here, content, launcher, standard. So ICBM micro launcher. Clearly can see a key there for it. Open up the console. Scroll up to see if we have any loading errors. We have a ton of like tile errors. I haven't figured out these ones yet. There's some kind of read exception. Yeah, because we've got all these multi-block layouts being handled. Probably should name these. Ton of texture data. Could be something wrong with our loader, maybe? Because we clearly have a key for it. ICBM micro launcher. Small launcher. Let's go back here. Yeah, our key is... Yeah, it's right there. We're getting a null. So let's hit play again. And I'm going to sit there and look at the map real quick. So we're going to go into here. And I want to see what's in the layout map. So we have 11 layouts. So we have a medium launcher west that's in there. Small size. How do we have a medium launcher west when we don't even have the medium like launcher? Oh no, right there, it's medium launcher. Are we getting some override data? Hold on, that actually could be it. Yeah, we found a problem. More typos. Remember that thing I said where you can't have overlapping IDs? That's what that problem is. You gotta have independent unique IDs in JSON or it doesn't work. So there's our issue. Go ahead and put play here, get rid of that, play. For this you might go like, oh, but you just wasted last thing. You don't really waste time when you fail at something because you learn. I learn better how my own system works, how it functions, how it plays, how it flows, and hopefully I'll remember that so I don't have to redo it every like 10 minutes. Okay, and we launch this up and hopefully it works, and then we can sit here and toy around with the rendering and a few other things and get it nice and tweaked. And now you can actually, this will be the first version of ICBM that you can launch a micro missile without using an RPG. So that'll play really nice for short-range defense, and eventually I'll program these guys to act as anti-missile missiles. So that way you can use a micro to shoot down the smalls and standards. Anything bigger than a standard, you're probably going to want to use a small missile because it won't do enough damage. Because the HP on the medium is like, I think 10,000. It's ridiculous. They're meant to not to be shot down. And depending on what components you make them out of too, they become even more resilient. Speaking of which, I just lost all my Dropbox space. I don't really like Dropbox anymore. I got like 45 gigs free for having a Samsung phone, and now they took it away, even though I still have that Samsung phone. So I went from having 48 gigabytes on top of like the 5 gigabytes I already had, and now I'm down to 5 gigabytes. I had to literally dump everything out of my Dropbox in order to get down to a low enough space that they wouldn't turn my account off. Really sucks, because I can't afford to pay it, even though it's only $10 a month. That's still a lot of money when you're not making much. Right now we're doing about $65 a month off the mods on Curse. Yay, it's working. Look at that. 2-block tall multi-block. So now what we want to do is go ahead and make the other ones. So the standard should be that big. And I'll do a tutorial on this stuff here later. I don't know when, but it'll be later. So got that. So now we test the standard. Should be 5 of these. Notice how it actually did its multi-block now. It's got a slight delay, but it'll eventually do it. And then of course we got the medium, which is like ridiculous in size. So these guys. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Medium launcher has been created. So standard's doing its correct height. That's doing its correct height. Now let's go ahead and get some blocks placed below this. I have to back up a little bit to get these guys. And then we just go through and we start placing missiles on these. So that way we actually can do... actually, you know what? I can click... I just forgot about that. I fixed that so you can click the multi-blocks and actually get it to pass through to the structure properly. So look at that. Look at that. How cool that is. It's so awesome. So amazing. Now can the medium render? Oh, it sort of does. It has its problems. So I'll go ahead and take some screenshots of that. That's awesome. That's cool. If you notice, like, all of these are pretty much 1 block taller than the actual thing, except for this guy. I think this is... No, that's 2 blocks taller. So yeah, so we need to fix this guy's render. This is JSON driven, and this is JSON driven as well. So this is an example of... actually, this guy not only doesn't need to be fixed in his JSON render, I need to actually reprogram the launcher to recognize the new center point and everything else. See how the center points are good on this guy? The center point on this one is still in the same exact spot as these ones are, hence why it renders a little weird. It also needs to be... handled a little better because its height offset's not correct. So it needs to go down by 1.3 blocks. And actually I can edit this in game, so just give me a second while I open up the actual code for it. And we'll go ahead and close all of the other ones of these. Open this up. So we want to do the micro and the medium. So it's what we're rendering, I believe, is the entity, and what I actually need to change is this method right here. It looks like I can't edit that in game, so I need to do... What's weird, by the way, with this rendering is that if we actually pop open this thing, this thing renders fine. So this guy renders okay, but that doesn't. Let me check the code. So it'd be deco, and that would be tile 2. It's 6.6 Y offset. Let's not trust the deco though, so if I really do think this needs to go to bound, we'll just test it real quick. So do that guy, and then where's the micro? So the micro is at 0.4. I'm going to say it's a 1 now, which doesn't make sense. But this code for the render offset is exclusively used by this stuff over here. So if we break it, we're not breaking anything important. What I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to reprogram the display tiles to utilize the same exact code as the launchers. That way there's no inconsistency between them. Get those set up, and there's a lot more work I got to still do on this. One of the things I do want to do after we get the launchers done and everything else polished and everything fixed and everything functional, of course, is I still need to do more work with the micros, because the micros are actually meant to do a lot more than they do currently. They're meant to be pretty much a use-all case missile, because they're going to act as MIRVs, so multiple launch missiles. So what you'll be able to do is you'll take the small, and you'll be able to stick 4 of them in a small, probably about 8 in a standard, and you'll be able to stick maybe 12 to 20 inside of a medium, and you'll be able to use them to distribute damage in a much larger area. And then you'll be able to do that with some of the other missiles too. So I guess it doesn't count just for the micros, but the micros will be able to do that. You're meant to be able to spam fire them a lot easier. So they, with their small AoE, they do get the advantage that they're going to be one of the cheapest missiles to craft, and they're going to have probably one of the higher speeds on them too, so they'll be pretty fast. But with that, you can just launch tons of them. So you'll be able to like spam the snot out of somebody and defeat their base. This will be really cool for AMS systems, so just you can overwhelm AMS systems with these. One of the things I plan to do with the micros also is to create a flak type system. And God, man, that guy doesn't want to stop calling me. So I got this like telemarketer that keeps calling, and you know, I might actually record that one of these days and see if he's one of those Indian. I don't think he's an Indian scammer, but I've been reading the text translations. Okay, that didn't make any difference. Why didn't that change? I should have got a modification out. So I'm going to revert these because something's not right. It could be the height. Because what this is what the body offset is actually used for. It's how far Y value do I have to raise the missile from its center point for the bottom to touch the ground, is what this is. Because the center point on these is different. So like this guy, his center point is 0.4 tall, and this guy's center point is 6.6 blocks up from the ground, which is like somewhere roughly around here. Which, by the way, I got to fix the render angles for that. That's actually a problem with all these, except, I don't know, this one's got a pretty good render angle. That one doesn't. So that needs fixed. Yeah, but that guy's off from a pretty distance. And what's causing it, though? Because the small, I mean, well, the small isn't rendering perfect either. The standard rendered is just fine. So there's definitely some flaws in the code. And to be honest, the standard isn't rendering right either. It's slightly off. Let me get a stone block and put under here. And then, yeah, see, you can see this slight gap right there. So there is render issues with all these, and they need to be fixed. So, And by the way, guy leaves a message every time. Same exact message. Either he's a master at scripting, or it's a robot. Probably a robot. But they call like 6 times a day, which is harassment technically. Especially since I'm on a do not call list. So we got all this, and we don't have anything special. Hold on, let me pop open the standard and see if there's anything in particular in here that's different. Like, oh, here's your Y offset, and this is really different. Okay. We don't have any special rendering in here for it. So, like, one of the things I was expecting to see is maybe a special rendering in here, but I just remembered I wanted to make sure that we were rendering the same exact render ID as the actual flying missile. Although I might change that in the future, so there may be a reduced LOD model for the entities in the future, just to improve rendering, because somebody's going to spam the crap out of you. You probably want to improve FPS as much as possible. And then there'll be a fancier version in the launchers, just because people like to look at them. So, I mean, look at that. That does look really cool. Even if Hellfire PvP on all the creators server thinks my models look like garbage, but I like them. Even if these two don't match these style, because I'd rather have actually had these two match the style of these guys. But I'm not picky. I mean, people give me models. I love them. Like, I love the fact that somebody actually gave me this model. It looks nice. It's over detailed for Minecraft, but I love the look of it. It's amazing. But let's get this. Let's figure this out. So these are being rendered by this guy. And he's rendering, yeah, here's the problem. He's calling get missile height, and this needs to be get Get missile offset. Where's that actually stored at? There's missile size, missile width, save ID, submodulars. Shoot. So what we have for a missile, what is our missile object? It is an I missile. Huh. Okay. So I'll have to fix that. So what we need to do is close this down because I'm going to have to make changes to the code that need to be changed. So I know for sure we are reading in the missile, but what it's being read in is from here. Here's the offset, but it's being read from the data. And we want to encapsulate as best as possible. So we want the data to drive our missiles, but we don't want the data to be mandatorily enforced for somebody else's missile. So we're going to have to make some kind of system for this, and we're going to have to expose interfaces. Okay, so that means in our API, so iMissile entity, iMissile item, iTile missile, iCustom missile render. Where's the actual missile? Right there it is. That's modular. So we want to do a default here. And the reason why we're doing a default is if anybody has their own missile system, it'll handle itself. iPause 3D get center. And we want to return shoot, we actually can't return anything. We're just going to return null because it'll work. But what this will do is, we'll document this real quick. Okay, so we'll do that, and then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and implement this in our missile. So we just need to come down to our actual missile object, which will be somewhere here. Maybe parts? No. That's right here. Here we go. So we want to implement the method, go all the way down to the bottom. Maybe not at the bottom. Where's the rest of it? Right here it is. Stuff isn't overridden. Wow. A lot of this stuff's been exposed already to the API, so I don't know why there's not overriding. That's why it's still even documented. This would be public at override, and then we can change this to pause as well to kind of improve handling. It doesn't really do anything though, but it helps. So data.get center offset. Get rid of this guy. And I don't know why the formatting didn't run. There it goes. It actually ran now. So then what we can do is, so we have a pause already. And what we just really want to do is just, if launcher.get missile get center offset does not equal null, then we just go pause equals pause.add this guy. And then you just remove this whole piece here because it's already added for you. So you're done. And this should run and work. So we'll go ahead and hit debug run. And that should fix our render problem. If we have any render problems after this, it literally is just a matter of fact. We got to modify the JSON data. And we can't modify that JSON data in-game yet. I will actually get to a point where we can eventually manipulate the JSON data while we're in game And hopefully one of these days get to a point where we can actually save it while in game, so that way I don't have to manually edit all the data. But that one's going to take a while. I have been talking to people about how the best option is for me to fix that, and a lot of it has come down to I'm just going to have to do it the hard way and manually set every save path. Or even get to a different point where I don't mark the content folders as part of the source package, so they aren't moved to the source folder. Instead, they're left in their normal folders, which means the game will be directly manipulating the actual files, which is sketchy. You're not really supposed to do that. As a software developer, I've always been taught you never, ever, ever want to feed the program your original data. You always want to feed it a copy, because if it fucks your copy up, it's okay. But if it messes your original data up and you had no backup, you're screwed, because then you have to redo everything from scratch, or as close as you can get to scratch. So always a good idea to feed copies. So I'll have to think about it, of how I want to do it. Probably just going to make it do a backup right before we run every time. That would be an easy solution. Or make a backup every time before it saves. That part I can do. That's what I already do in several cases. Hey, look, everything renders correctly. Look at that. That's so awesome. Let's actually, before I take the screenshot, put something below each of these, so that way I can get a nicer shot. And do a little bit of an angle here, get a little bit of camera cinematics going on. Try to see the top of that missile. Print screen. Yay! I'll get to be able to throw that out on Twitter so everybody see it. But yeah, look at that. So nice. Now, of course, we're going to have to test the launchers in the next episode here. And I actually did not mean to break that. So I'll go ahead and rebuild that real quick. And why are you translating as a large missile? Oh well. What I wanted to do was break this to see if that fin was poking in the ground or not. It's not. That's actually really good. That's really well translated. We fixed a little translation bug on this guy too, because he's perfectly small. Needs to be increased a little bit. So small needs to go up by like 2 pixels, which will be like 0.15 is what it would be. So let's see. Yeah, it's because the body offset's not perfect. So it needs to go up by 0.15. No, wait. 2 divided will be 1/8. 1 divided by 8. So it'll be 1.2. That's what it'll probably be. I'll leave it at that because I'll check here in a second if that is what it actually is. So see, it's a little, yeah. So I guess we want to put the 5 there. We may end up having to make that a 3 just because it's slightly. And then let me look at this guy, see if he's... Yeah, he's perfect. The reason this one isn't perfect is because his center offset probably is not just right. He's probably not 1 point, because I don't think this guy's even 2 meters tall. I think the small missile is actually slightly under 2 meters, which might make the offset not very good. That's pretty good. So those look nice. Now we just got to fix the thing over here. Now we could get away with using a center offset system for that, but it is because it's rotated. We gotta just tell it that it's a big ass structure. That's all we really have to do with this guy, and we should be good to go. So I'll see you guys in the next episode, which will probably be tomorrow.